Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of In the Kitchen. And today I thought we'd do one of my most favorite desserts, pecan pie. And on top of that, it's a southern style pecan pie. So stay tuned. So to get us started, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run through all the ingredients one at a time and show you exactly how much of everything that you're gonna need, and then we'll go ahead and get started. But before we do that, I want to go ahead and get my pie crust in the oven so it can bake. Now a lot of people will say that you don't need to bake this ahead of time. This is a store-bought Pillsbury pie crust, regular pie crust, and all we're gonna do is I've let it thaw out already. So I'm gonna take a fork, plain old fork, and I'm gonna poke a few holes in the bottom just so that when we bake it, it doesn't bubble up and everything. That'll allow that hot air to escape while it bakes. We're gonna bake this on 350 for about 5 minutes or so, not too long, because we're gonna bake our pie for about 45 minutes. So let's get this in, about 5 minutes on the crust, and then we'll be right back to go over those ingredients. All right, so our first ingredient, we're gonna use brown sugar. I got 1/3 cup of butter melted, 3/4 cup of corn syrup, half a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon and 1/4 of vanilla extract, 3 eggs, 1 1/4 cup of chopped pecans. And I actually put some half pecans in there as well. You get a good mixture when you use the chop and the half, so that you get pecans in just about every bite. So now we'll get that crust out and we'll get started. So our 5 minutes is up. Our crust has finished the pre-baking stage. I got it sitting right here just cooling before we put our ingredients together. So now let's get to these ingredients, get them in the bowl so we can get this pecan pie out of the way. All right, so there's always a method to my madness. I have everything lined up in the order that we're gonna put it in. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, we're gonna take our brown sugar, our cup of brown sugar. I'm gonna put it in here, break that up just a little bit. And then we're gonna take our melted butter, that 1/3 cup. We're gonna pour it in, and we're gonna mix these two ingredients together until it gets nice and creamy. Now, the reason you want to do this is because sometimes that sugar has a tendency to ball up, and once it does that, it can become unevenly distributed throughout the dish. So we're gonna mix all that together so it's nice and smooth. Now I don't have one of those fancy mixers, KitchenAids. If somebody wants to donate me one, feel free. All right, so got that butter, that sugar, nice and creamy. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this corn syrup, the light and the dark that I've mixed together, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna add this. But before I do, I'll tell you what I did was I took some pan spray and I sprayed this so that when we pour this out, it comes out a lot more easier. So we're gonna add that in. And you don't really have any left in, but what we'll do is we'll take this whisk and go around the edges and pull all the excess out. Perfect. Set that to the side, and we're gonna mix all this up. Now to kind of get an idea, this is what it's looking like. Nice, creamy. That's what you want it to look like. All right, so we're gonna toss in that salt, that vanilla extract that we have, toss that in, and mix all that in, get it good and incorporated. And if you notice, it almost looks like caramel. If you watch that, look at it. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take those eggs, but we're gonna add the eggs one at a time so that we make sure they're good and mixed in. So that's the first egg. Get that in there. And the egg is what's gonna give this dish the body. Some dishes call for corn starch, sorry. And that helps with the actual structure. But in this dish, we try to use as few ingredients as possible. That's what we're all about. I know a lot of people are really busy, and we mentioned this in a lot of our tutorials, our cooking tutorials. People are busy, they don't have time. So we're gonna give you recipes that have as few ingredients as possible. Last egg going in. Perfect. Sit that to the side. We'll beat that egg in just like so. Whisk it. All right. Got that nice and incorporated. You can see it's a nice smooth mixture. Now comes the fun part. We have pecans. Now, either you can go ahead and put the pecans in, and notice I'm saying pecan. This is a southern pie. We're doing pecans, not pecans. You can go ahead and put these in, this mixture, or you can sit it right here. And what happens is if you put them in here, pour the mixture on top, as this cooks, the pecans rise to the top. So either or, just whichever way you're more comfortable with. So now, like I said, we're at that fun part. And what I like to do is I like to take my pecans and put them directly in that shell. And that way I can kind of spread them out and control how many of the halves I have versus how many of the pieces I have and where they're located. So I'm going to spread all these out nice and evenly all across that pie crust. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mixture, which I have right here. I have a spatula just to scrape down. I'm going to mix it up one more time, and then we're going to pour this right on top. And if you pour it in the center, it naturally just goes out to all the edges. Just wait, let that settle just a little bit because you're going to get some air bubbles that come up through there. Let that settle. We'll move it around just a little bit, make sure we got all the air bubbles out. And then we'll pour more. Just like so. Perfect. And then you'll just kind of move them around just a little bit to make sure that it's all evenly incorporated. There we go. Voila, there we go. We got our pecan pie and it's ready to go in the oven. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pop this in the oven 45 minutes, 350 degrees, and then we're gonna let it cool and we'll be back. All right, so this is our finished product. Pecan pie, fresh out of the oven. What we're gonna do is we're gonna sit this down. We're gonna let it cool for about an hour. Then we'll come back, we'll cut it, and we'll plate it up and get ready to eat. Stay tuned. So our pie's right here. It's cooled. Now we're gonna cut it, plate it, and get ready to eat it. So let's do it. Nice, good sized piece. Get under that crust. We got a nice brown crust. Nice crisp pecans on top. Gonna put that on the plate. We'll make sure we get a little bit of all of that we dropped. Just like that. Sit that to the side. Now we got this nice plate. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a little bit of vanilla ice cream. So I got a little bit of that. And top, just like so. Vanilla ice cream, a little bit of chocolate syrup. And drizzle some of that across the top. Voila, there we go. Southern pecan pie. Hope you're able to make this recipe. I'll make sure I leave a description in that below. Until next time, it's in the kitchen.